Hello there, and as usual, I'm Aaron from Let's Stay Gamers, and welcome. So Thursday sure comes around fast, and in this update it's not a disappointment at all. We've got new features, new blocks, and some features that are quite breathtaking. You can really see how they've listened to our feedback and took it into consideration. So in front of me here is the new battery block. Now, we've been requesting this quite a while, ever since the solar panels up there came into existence. We wanted a place where we could actually store the power that they created, so we could actually use it to power our ships and stations. So I'm going to show you how they work. So if we step over to the control panel, we'll notice there is a number of different features. So we have the basic information that I'll get onto shortly, and we have the basic on and off. So as it goes off, it goes red. If we turn it back on and we click the recharge button, you'll see a tick appears and it turns blue to show you that it's recharging that cell. Now let's get into the more technical information. So as you can see, it shows us how fully recharged it is, so how long it's going to take to be fully recharged. If we disable recharged, you can actually see the information has changed and it tells us how long it's going to be depleted. So I'll change that again and you can see the power stored. And you can see it change once again to the outputted power once you've actually turned that on. So if we turn that off, you can see the outputted power has actually turned to 0, and all the information and the data is now stored in that cell. All the power is now stored in that cell. So up above we have the solar panel going to be charging our cells. Really interesting, really exciting, and there's a lot of other things you can do with this. So what I'd like to also show you is the power cell for the small ship. Now this is a lot smaller, a lot more compact, and it can fit in a variety of compartments. What's really interesting to actually consider about this is it's about the size of a large engine, like so. So if you've got an engine bay, like I have many of, that happen to have a space in the middle between the engines, it's an easy place you can put a power cell to charge and power your engines. You can also use this on a variety of small transport ships just to connect up power and move power around your actual station or base. Let's talk about recharging your batteries. Now there's two sorts of powering space engineers. We have the solar panels and we have the reactors that are repowered by uranium that you'd have to mine from the environment. Now both of them have their advantages and disadvantages. The setup cost of the solar panels is extremely expensive, but they eventually do make the parts cost back, where on the other hand the uranium reactors are quite simple to build, but you've got to constantly go out looking for uranium for them once they run out of power. Now let's talk about recharging them. Now the recharge value of the actual reactor is a lot faster than using the solar panel, so I'm going to show you that first. So if we go into the control panel and we actually access our battery, we can see that the current input is 0 because the battery is actually being used. So we're going to select that to recharge and see the current input. So as we can see, this should change and we've got 4.00 megawatts of input. Now let's go on over to the solar panels and see what they can do. Now I'm going to put on one solar panel like so. And now this one solar panel should be able to power and recharge this, but we'll see what rate it actually does. So if we hop into here and we set the battery to recharge, we then actually see the change in current power. So we've got 42.95 kilowatts of power. So it's going to charge at a little bit of a slower rate than the standard generator, but still this power is free, where you're going to have to go and find that uranium, and eventually you might run out completely in your small sector. So moving on ever so slightly, I'm going to talk about the copy and paste new functions. Now as you can see, I've added a small engine bay onto the side, and previously I would have to build that on in creative and then mirror it across. But with the copy and paste, I could have a module from another ship that I particularly want to try out on this, and I can simply move it on over and stick it to the side. So we'll just line that up. And there we go, it's all connected, everything's flowing through and it's ready to operate. But what's more important about this is how the actual objects can actually join into each other without any collision. So the main important thing is objects before have this big box around them and you couldn't actually get anything in there. So say I wanted to attach that top area to the bottom area, something down here, and previously it wouldn't fit in, but now it can. So I'm just going to cut these off behind the thrusters, and then I'm going to try to fit in that block behind there. So I'm just going to look for the right position. and then once I've got it in place, I can click it in like so, and I've now slid that in behind the engine, and it works extremely well. So I'm going to copy and paste another engine bay over and stick that in there. So previously that would have been obscured and wouldn't have been able to actually slide it into that position there. And that's really nice, a really nice function. I can't wait to see what builds you can do in creative with something like this. It's going to make building in creative a lot faster as well from when you're building them prototypes and test ships. So if we move on, this is actually an antenna. Now we've seen these antennas much before, and previously they didn't have too much function. You could use them similar to a beacon. But with this latest patch, we can actually use them to relay a signal between ships. So we've got one antenna there, so I'll turn my hood on, and that signal is being relayed to this middle ship, that is being relayed to this ship here. Now if I just pull up a bit, you can actually see the shortness that I've actually set the signal length to. So I've pulled up and I've lost connection with my personal suit's frequency identifier. So I'm going to pull back down, and if I take this middle ship out of the equation, the signal to this ship that is now being bounced through the middle ship will be lost. So I'm going to take that out of the equation. So the signal has been lost. I can only pick up that signal, and if I go over here I can only pick up that signal. It's no longer being relayed between the two ships. So if we add, for instance, a new antenna, just got to quickly find it wherever it may be. Now there it is, and we place that back in on the same position. You can see how it's now picked up that frequency, and you can see them over there at the station are set on an extremely long range so that you can pick them up from a distance. You can also set this to friendly and foe, so you're no longer picking up enemies' frequencies. It also detects hostile enemies moving within your sector, so if someone's been set to declare war or is unknown to you, then as their beacon or their antenna moves into your circle, it'll show up them if they've got their switches on in red. So let's move on to actually talking about the encirclement of these. So now we've looked at the exterior of the antenna and how it can relay a signal between the ships. Let's actually have a look at the control panel and the option that it gives us. Now if we hop in here and we search antenna and we bring it up like so, we can actually see we have a broadcast radius. Now this broadcast radius can go all the way from 1 meter all the way up to infinite amount, and you can see in the bottom right as the current input how much power it needs to broadcast it at that strength. So a lower broadcast radius is going to require less power than a higher broadcast. Very interesting, and it's sure going to cause a lot of interesting relay situations where you can relay messages between ships, causing your ships to have to maybe stay in formation. But anyway, thanks for watching guys. I can't wait to see what you guys are going to do with the battery block and the other features of today's patch, and I'll see you next time.